I'm like so excited. Hello there, beautiful people. I have my October Wrapped ready to go. I'm really excited to talk about some of these books. I did pull some of them, but I think I'm just gonna insert some pictures. Let's do right here. I feel like that's a good blank spot. And also, my apologies for the sound in my last video. If you listened to it, if you watched it, I cannot figure out how far away from my mouth the mic should be, and I get so excited to hold it, and I think I figured it out now. I think this is a good distance because I'm pretty soft-spoken in general, so I think like I can always change it afterwards. We're gonna hop straight into it. Let's go ahead and jump into audiobooks first. I listened to 8 audiobooks last month. So the first one is The Snowman by Joe Nesbo. I don't know exactly how to pronounce it. I gave that a 3 out of 5, but I'm honestly feeling like it could be like a 2.75. I usually do like true crime stuff, but it's one of those cases that is like so disturbing, but it's just a little bit too much for me, honestly. It is about Harry Holes, who goes to solve a case of basically a man who's making his victims into snowmen. And I just found it pretty slow paced. I do really like how it wrapped up in the end. I think like the first part and the last part, those the best parts possibly. It is a movie as well, and I think the movie might do a better job than the book does, just because the book is slower. But overall, I just found it a little bit difficult to follow. There are a lot of characters, and I found that the way that they talked about anything sexual in the book, very vulgar. I'm actually gonna move these. I don't know why I put them there. It looks kind of strange. And then I listened to the first and the second A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series by Holly Jackson. I rated the first one a 3.5 and the second one a 3.75. And this is a very, very specific thing that bothered me, and I'm not deducting any points because of it, because it is truly just like a personal thing. But all of the audiobooks were done by American voice actors, and then I went to watch the show and they're all English, and that was just really jarring for me to experience. But I don't think I got fully invested into these books. I do think that they were good. I think they were relatively fast-paced. I like the concept behind them. And then I listened to the first and the second Harry Potter by J.K. Rowling. And while I don't necessarily like to support her, I do really like Harry Potter, and it's been so long since I've read these books, and I recently rewatched the first and the second movie, and I gave them both a 5 out of 5. I think it's just a classic for me. I grew up listening to these, reading them, watching them, and everything. Road trips, bedtime stories, and movie nights. I think that they're just so nostalgic, and I do like the way that they're written, honestly. And I listened to Jim Dale as the voice actor, not Stephen Fry, and I do think Jim Dale did a really, really good job. And then I listened to Maybe This Time by Cara Bastone. I give this one a 5 out of 5 because I found it just like really fast-paced. It was pretty easy to follow, and I liked the characters, and it was an interesting storyline. It's basically these two people who are on different, I don't want to say time planes, but she is in like a black hole wormhole situation, and the only person that she can contact is this one guy. And it is just something that is, I don't know, it was just so simple and it was fun. And then the last audiobook that I listened to was The Glitch by Leanne Slade. I gave this one a 3.25 out of 5. It's about a woman who owns a restaurant, and she had a failed relationship, and then all of a sudden she's one night like, oh, I wish I could change my life. And then it like goes back in time. If I'm not mistaken, it goes back 5 years into the past, and she's actually able to rewrite some of her story, and she's able to make better decisions this time around. And it's kind of like the idea of the butterfly effect as well. And like, if two people are meant to be, then they'll be. And it's a romantic comedy while also like kind of being like life lesson-y, but not like in a very like shove it down your throat kind of way, which I like. And then the physical books I read, I started off with Finley Donovan is Killing It by Elle Cosimano. I gave this one a 4.75, and I really, really liked this book. I didn't really know what to expect. This is a book that I found at Half Price Books, and it was on my clearance shelf, and I was like, you know, it sounds like it has an interesting premise. Basically, this woman who is a writer, she is at a Panera Bread. She's pitching her story to her editor or her publicist person, and some woman overhears and mistakes her for a hit woman, and it kind of spirals from there. And like, it was just like a joy to read. I think I read this in like 1 or 2 days, and I think like just because it took me by such surprise, I wasn't expecting to like it so much. It's like, you know what, like 4.75 or 5. I really, really like this novel, and I got the second one recently. It is a series, and I'm really excited to read the series. And then I read Thursday Murder Club books 2 and 3. I gave the second one a 5 out of 5, and I gave the third one a 4 out of 5. And like I said in my last video, I do plan on doing a more extensive review, so I won't go too into depth about them. But the second one I found just like very fun, fast-paced. We learn a bit more about some of the characters. And then the third one I really like. This one probably leans the most into like ethos, like your emotions and everything, and has the most romance out of the ones that I've read. And there is a fourth one still to read, and then the fifth one is coming out next year, and the movie for the first one, I believe, is coming out next year as well. So that'd be really, really cool. And I really love these novels. They're by Richard Osman, and I think he's a really great writer. And then I read Happy Medium by Sarah Adler, and I also really, really liked this book. It is a 4.5 out of 5 for me, and it's just like, it's again something that I wasn't really expecting to like so much. But it is this woman who is like basically like a fake medium, fake psychic kind of person, who gets hired by one of her older, richer clients. She's given a bunch of money, and she's like, oh, I want to go help out my friend who lives on this farm because he has a ghost. And like, I want you to like talk to the ghost and talk to him and like figure out how to like solve this problem, because he's trying to sell the property and we're trying to figure out how to fix it, kind of. But he is a skeptic, and it is kind of like, I don't want to say it's necessarily like enemies to lovers, because they don't like necessarily despise each other. He really doesn't like what she does, and he doesn't believe in psychic stuff, so it's kind of like he has the hate for her profession, but not as much for her. It's only because of that. And she's just like, hey dude, like, I'm just trying to help you out, like I'm trying to be a good person. And while she's there on the very first day, she actually runs into a ghost, and she's like, oh my god, I wasn't able to do this before. And then the ghost is like, you can see me. And it's kind of like, it's just like a fun like rom-com situation involving as well a ghost. And I found it pretty fast-paced, and honestly, I don't know if you can see how many pages I've tabbed at the top, but there's some really beautiful quotes in this and stuff that I wasn't expecting to like as much as I did, just because the premise is just a little bit more far-fetched than I usually read. And it's funny that I'm saying that about this book, because I'm about to pull out A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon, and that is by Sarah Holley, and I gave that one a 3.75 out of 5. The main complaint I have with this book is that the author tries to take kind of like, for an example, Bumble, like the dating app, they have Bumbleina, and it's just like Facebook is Facebook, and I don't really like campy stuff like that. That's just a personal preference. It was written pretty well, but that's just something that like I don't really love in a book. And A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon is basically, as it says in the title, it is a witch who is fake dating a demon. I didn't expect this book to take off so quickly, I will say. Like, the demon appears in the first chapter, and it sets it up in kind of a fun way. There is a little bit of spice in this book as well. There are a couple points where I was like, okay, like the spice is spicing, okay? Like, we don't need this much spice, but it also kind of shows like honeymoon period, and it's fake dating. I mean, as it says in the title, like the title gives you everything you need to know about this book. And I did really like it. It was very enjoyable to read. It was very quick to read, and I liked it more than I expected to, but it's not something that I really recommend or pick back up. I do like her writing style. I just feel like this book in particular was kind of aimed to a more like social media leaning audience, and I'm not like as chronically online as some people might be. So I think that was just a deterrent for me. But I am actually going to an author event to get her new release book, and I'm really excited about that. And it is a fantasy, and I'm hoping that it's a little bit less like campy. I don't think that's the right word necessarily, but I'm excited for that book because I do like the writing style. And the last one that I read was Five Survive by Holly Jackson. Holly Jackson was also the one that wrote A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and then I gave Five Survive a 3.75 out of 5. There was nothing like innately wrong with this book, and I did originally rate it a 4-star because I did like the pacing. And honestly, I would lean a little bit more towards 4 stars in general with this book. I think that the way that they set it up is pretty interesting. It is this group of teenagers who is taking a road trip from like the north to the south area in an RV, and then they get stranded, and then someone is trying to kill them because they have a secret that they basically the gunman needs answers to. And it's kind of just the interpersonal relationships and like the secrets you hide and stuff. And I do find with Holly Jackson that there's always like a very tiny subplot of like 2 characters or 3 characters doing something that they shouldn't be doing that kind of comes to light, which is interesting to have that as a pattern. That's like a writing trope that she tends to follow. But I did really like how this book is set over the course of one single night, and because of that, it's very fast-paced, and it's like 1 a.m, 2 a.m, 3 a.m, and inside those hour chunks there are different chapters. I did really like it. I like the character development. There are some characters that you hate to love, and there's some that you love to hate. And I think there's only one character that the whole entire novel that I was like, I've been rooting for you since day 1. Well, I guess hour 1 in this instance. Upon like looking back on it, I do think I could toggle this back to a 4, just because it's a thriller, and I feel like I did read this really quickly, and I didn't necessarily feel like uncomfortable or scared while I was reading it. It was more just suspenseful. And this is technically a YA as well. But there were some points, like there's one little like subplot, and I was like, that's a little bit gory. Like, how much can we say in a YA without it being just A? That is everything that I read and listened to in the month of October. I had a good month of reading. I feel like I rated most of the stuff pretty high, but that is it for this month, and thank you so much for watching. I'm really excited to do next month's wrap up. We're only a couple days into November right now, and I've already read one book that I actually really like, so I'm excited to do that one for you as well. Thank you for staying to the end if you made it down this far, and I'm hoping that this mic height makes more sense and that I don't sound like I'm screaming into the mic or anything. But if it's absolutely awful, just drop me a comment and I will see what I can do. Thank you so much.